Kelly, welcome, sir. I'm really happy to have you here on the High Button podcast. Thank you for coming.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
How was your morning?
Morning was good.
Yeah?
Got up, said hi to my wife and kids, and said I'm going to go do a broadcast, see what that's like.
What was their reaction to that?
They were pretty excited, actually. I have two daughters, 23, 21, and they thought that was pretty cool. And my wife's excited anytime I do anything, so it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I've seen your face since I was a kid, and my brother, my family, I think everyone in Halifax has seen your face, and almost, not that everyone doesn't know the guy. I'm sure a lot of people know you, but I've always wanted to get to know you as a person because you make a lot of people's day, at least a lot of children who get to ride that Zamboni.
Yeah.
There's a huge fascination with the Zamboni for children, adult, everyone, and you're the guy who rides it and makes sure that the ice is crisp and clean for the players that get to ride it. So I guess the first question is, how did you get involved with your job there at the Metro Center / Scotiabank Center?
Well, you know what? I started in Spryfield Lions Rink when I was 13 as a rink rat, and got my refrigeration ticket there, driving the old Massey Ferguson tractor with the box on the back. And then the Dartmouth Sportsplex, the Zapman Sportsplex opened up, brand new facility. So I was over there as an engineer, and that didn't do the ice as much there. I was more of an engineer. And then the Metro Center at that time, we're looking for a couple engineers / ice techs. So I applied for that. I've had 3 jobs in my life, all been in a rink. I've been just driving around in circles for forever. And so I've been at the Metro Center. Well, this is starting my 36th year there and that, right? So that was, and it's been fun. It's as you get older, you appreciate things you've done and seen and worked. I've been very fortunate to land where I have, and not a lot of people can say they love their jobs or like their jobs. I'm one that can say I do that because I like hockey, and all that stuff. So it all works out well.
Is there a part of you that, obviously you love what you do, but outside of on the Zamboni taking care of the ice, the thing I love about the rink is the people that you get to meet every single day. And we all know what hockey people are like, very welcoming, very open. How are you? How's your day? How's the family? Is that part of the aspect that you really enjoyed?
Definitely. I mean, a rink, theater, whatever. We're in the entertainment business. People come here to relax, enjoy themselves, be it hockey, figure skating, curling, you name it, ringette. It's an escape, and people are just excited. And I know at the Scotiabank Center, when we have minor hockey in there, the little kids are practicing and that. The first thing they're doing is they're skating out, and they want to skate over the Moose logo and stuff like that. And it's in awe of the size of the building and stuff. The ice surface is the same as most rinks, 200 by 85. The corners are 28-foot radius, so all that's the same, but it's just the size of it. And I remember when I was that young, the Forum was the awe for me type of thing. So it's fun to watch the kids do that, and the parents get excited for their kids. So when I'm driving a kid around on the Zamboni, the kid might be a little nervous, but the parents are so excited. I think they're more excited than the kids sometimes.
Yeah.
But we give out a little driver's license after they've completed their ride, and I still have people come to me and say they still have their driver's license and they think it's the best thing and all that. So it's kind of fun, and yeah, people are very thankful and grateful there, and they just love participating in whatever it is that they're there for.
What year did they start to implement the drive on the Zamboni?
Wow, that's going back a way. So that's owned by the Mooseheads. So the Mooseheads came up with that idea. So we don't use it for other events unless they get permission through the Mooseheads, insurance purposes and stuff like that. So we're going back, oh gosh, quite a ways. I know there's a player on the Mooseheads. I think it's Crosby maybe, and Ali McDonald, who's assistant GM of the Mooseheads. He sent me a photo, and I drove him around when he was just a little kid. So you can go back at least 15. I'm going to say 20 years easy. It was quite a while. I've driven a lot of kids. Some of them are great, some of them they'll just, I ask them if they're going to wave to the crowd, and I get them to show me how they're going to wave and that, or if they're just going to drive with me. So some guys are intense and they'll just drive. When I turn, they'll turn the wheel, or some of them will just wave and stuff like that. So it's fun.
What was the first day like working at the Scotiabank Center, I guess Metro Center back then? But obviously you're the head technician now when it comes to the ice. I'm sure when you started, were you?
No, I wasn't. I worked under Chico Gallant, was the head guy at that time, and he had hired me on. And I remember, like obviously just getting used to the building. It's a huge building. And I went from the Sportsplex, which is a warm building as well, and this is a warm building. Um, I don't remember the first day. It's probably getting introduced to like a ton of people and stuff. I remember going to an AHL game. The Nova Scotia Oilers were there then, and watching what we did. We only had one machine back then, and stuff. So I probably just that type of a scenario, just kind of getting your feet grounded and stuff like that. But doing your first game is kind of a rush. You got a bigger crowd there, and it's pro hockey back then, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, what was the one thing you went, okay, I need to make sure I nail this with this job in order to stay here? Because obviously you loved it to start, but what was one aspect you go, I got to be a perfectionist right now?
Yeah, I you know what? I don't know if it's just because I started when I was such a young fella. I was very confident in the things I could do on the ice, and as I got older, I respect it more, and you read more about techniques and stuff like that. I remember at the Sportsplex, they had a Zamboni, so I went from a tractor to a Zamboni, so I wanted to learn how to do that. So I did that on a back shift when like I said, I was an engineer there. So on back shifts, we would do some ice maintenance for the ice techs. And so I wanted to learn that, but I was doing it standing up. I don't know why I did it standing up. I could see further and everything. So when I got to the Metro Center, and Chico had asked me, he said, "Do you always stand up when you drive?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, well, "Try sitting." So I tried sitting, and I've sat ever since, and and that it just looks a little better. So that, I guess that was about the biggest thing, just going from standing to sitting, and that. But otherwise, doing the ice and stuff like that was fine. Big crowds, and we've had big crowds. That's never bothered me.
No, it's never bothered you. Really?
Never bothered me.
Interesting.
You know what? I stay focused on what I do. I'll acknowledge the crowd. I don't know if you see, I'll go with the kids love you, and you're driving along and they're banging on the glass and they're waving to you. And so I just do the thumbs up. My father was in the Navy, and we always thumbs up to each other when it was bedtime type of thing. And so I just thumbs them up as I go around, and they like that. They're getting something back, I guess, from me in that sense. But no, the crowds never bothered me. The only time I was ever nervous was my very first Ice Capades. So Ice Capades did like 7 shows, and Chico was doing all the night shows, and I was going to do a Saturday matinee show. And so I was practicing. I did all the practices all week. They have plenty of props and that. I don't know if you've ever seen Stars on Ice, but Ice Capades is totally different. They have props everywhere, and they're changing all the time. So you drove out backwards from where we dumped the Zamboni inside the building, out back, and you drive right out to the curtain area, and then open the curtains, and away you go. And this time now there's crowds out there. So just like Stars on Ice, there are actually people that sit on the ice deck, which is level with the ice, right there. So there's no arena boards or anything. So I remember being behind the curtain, and my legs started going, and I was whatever. And it's like, oh, let's just do this, right? And so finally the curtains open, and then once I started, I was fine. But that was the only time I'd ever remember being like a little butterflies going, like before a game, and you're getting excited to go out there and get your first hit in, or throw a hit or something. You just want to get those butterflies out, and that's what it was for that. But you know what? We've had sellouts like Memorial Cups and World Hockey Championships, and sellout crowds and that, and never bothered me. Such. I remember the only other one that was kind of weird was the first World Juniors. Canada was playing Sweden, and it was right after the warm-up. And during the warm-up, or during the intermission there, when we were doing the ice before the start of the game, they started announcing the roster for Team Canada. Well, the noise in the building was just unbelievable. I couldn't even hear the machine. And I remember driving around thinking, oh my God, I can't hear nothing. I got to get off. It was just overwhelming. And it was like that every game. But once the first one was over, I got used to it. But that was the only other time that was just wasn't nervous about doing the ice. It was just the noise level of it all. It was just wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
One thing that's always interested me about Zamboni at the Scotiabank Center was when they implemented 2 Zambonis at once. And I thought to myself, I would mess that up because I'd go too quick. I'd be tailing the other Zamboni. Did they always do 2 Zambonis, or was it 1 Zamboni at one point?
It was 1 Zamboni for a lot of years, and it was actually the Memorial Cup in 2000 that we got a second. It was a request at that time. I know the NHL had started, probably the AHL was doing it then, and we got a second machine, and it's been there kind of ever since. I'm usually the lead one with the kid, and the other one, Steve, who's my current driver with me. He follows after I get a certain distance, maybe the blue line, between the blue line and center ice, and we just kind of keep the same pace, and keeps us out of the way, and it gives our ice crew, the rink rats, a chance to, keep an eye on us as well.
Cool.
But it's not that bad. I mean, we go from doing the ice in, say, 8 minutes down to 4.5 minutes, so it really picks up. And it's all that means is they get more time to do promotions out there, right?
More ads. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I've always wondered about the whenever glass pops out or glass breaks. Oh, I'm not allowed to say that? Okay.
That's taboo.
Oh, sorry.
No, but go ahead.
There's just I don't know, with the crowd just adds so much more pressure. And you see guys not struggle with it, but just it takes a bit. And then you see it get to their head.
Yeah. And it does. So, and again, it's one of those things, I think, back quite a ways, we used to have tempered glass. And if you've ever seen tempered glass break, it breaks into thousands of little pieces. That's a time-consuming and a pain to clean up because it's everywhere. You're shoveling the ice. You're trying to get as much. Some of it gets in the groove, so on and so forth. And the glass is heavy. So when they change to the acrylic shield, now that usually just cracks and it's a piece. And that's a little quicker. So we have vent techs that help us with that. We've done it a few times that it goes pretty quick. Like you can do it really quick if you're on the ball. So usually what happens is a piece of glass will break, and the first thing I do is I head around, and it usually happens after warm-up. It seems like that's the jinx time. Guys are practicing their shot, and they can't hit the net, so they're smacking the glass and cracking it. So, and that's what happened last year at the playoffs there with Bathurst. And I remember the first thing I did is I go around, I knock on the ref's room. They're down by me, and I tell them there's going to be a delay. I head to the timekeeper, tell him to put a pause on the clock, so the clock's ticking down. And then I head to the Moosehead dressing room, which is down the far end of the building, and then head back up towards where I'm at, and that's the visitor's room. And I let everybody know. Now, all these rooms have little time clocks in them, so I just tell them that. So now I'm in control, so that everybody's relaxed. You would know what it's like to get hyped up for a game. You're watching the clock, you're getting pumped up. All of a sudden, there's a delay, and it's like, what's going on, right? So that's the first thing I do. And by that time, I've already radioed my event tech crew. They're already getting the piece of glass that I need. And I'm heading back, and then we're just changing it and trying to get it up. The last time that it happened in the playoffs last year, we didn't lose any time, so he didn't have to stop the clock at all. It was great. We have a good crew that way. It works well. And once you've done it a couple times, it becomes, I don't want to say routine, but, it comes easier.
I wouldn't have thought that you let everyone else know before you went and got the glass. I wouldn't have thought that.
So what I do is I call, I have a radio, and I call them and tell them we have a broken piece of glass, and I tell them where it's at. And while I'm doing that, walking, I'm going to tell these people this. It just makes your life so much easier, and puts you in control of the situation where everything revolves around the time you need to fix the glass. So again, teams aren't waiting to get on the ice and pumped up. And
I gotcha.
All that stuff. So.
I was just at Tom Segura over the weekend.
Oh yeah, nice.
And you look at the floor and you put the layering over, and I want to know your longest shift at that rink, from putting that over to putting the court on. I just want to know your longest shift.
Yeah, so for me, I'm lucky in that sense. I just have to get the ice prepped for another crew to come in and put the floor down. So our event technicians, they do all the setups. So basically, we'll say there's a Moosehead game, and after the game, I'll buzz the edger around, clean up the sides of the board so the ice deck will sit down fine. Usually put on a couple floods, one to fill in the grooves and stuff and that, and then a second one to get it as smooth as we can. Let that freeze, and then the event techs will come in, and they do all their magic overnight. So then the next morning you come in. Last night there was a hockey game here. Today there's a stage set up and we're ready to go. And the whatever's coming in, be it a band or something, they're coming in to set up their lights and speakers and the show that night. And then right after the show, they're tearing it all down. So then I'm back in on the play where whatever mess is on the floor from them lifting it up. So somebody will spill a coffee or something on the floor. It'll get in between the cracks and the grooves. But doing the 2 floods and a smooth surface, everything's on the top. So when I go out with the machine, it's basically a one swipe clean type of thing. So it's not too bad. Again, it's just things you learn over the years, what works, what doesn't, and it goes pretty good.
So hypothetically, if someone spills a coffee and it's like in the middle between the blue line and like the top of the circle, you just go over that coffee stain with the machine to shave it off?
Sometimes it's just one swipe, just like I'm driving around like a normal scraper flood.
Okay, yeah.
And that if it was really hot and it burnt down a little bit, I'll take a spray bottle out with some hot water in and just burn that out. And then when I do a flood, it'll fill it back in.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah,
that's cool to know.
Yeah.
From the behind the scenes aspect of everything you do, bands come and going, hockey players, pro hockey players coming and going. What was one of the cooler interactions you've ever had from behind the scenes?
Well, you deal with the trainers mostly on hockey teams, be it the visiting team or even the Mooseheads. You deal with them for everything. They're arranging everything. They're almost like the secretaries of the team when it comes to when they go here, when they go there. They arrange for practice times, so on and so forth. Down at my end, the visiting team's dressing room is, so a lot of them, they'll trip a breaker or something and you reset it for them. So they're always bugging you. So, and it was the same with that with like the NHL teams. Zeno Chera and Hal Gill, they had an exhibition game there once and both dressing rooms were down at my end, and they are very tall. I don't even think I came up to their belly button. They're that tall, right? As such. But you know what? Everybody is very friendly. I've had no issues with anybody. Everybody's, like I say, it's that breed of person, I guess, that in sports. Figure skating. Kurt Browning, I did the World Figure Skating Championships in 1990, and Kurt Browning was new figure skater at that time and did very well and he does Stars on Ice every year, and Stars on Ice have been at our place every April for as long as I can remember. 20 must be going close to 30 years or more maybe. And Kurt Browning, last year he came and he says, "You're still here?" And I said, "Yeah, and you're still here." And both of us laughed, and we don't know when to retire type of thing and stuff. So you have that. Scott Moyer, he's from London, Ontario, and he's a huge London Knights fan and a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. So, London Knights, they were supposed to be one of the top teams in the OHL when they were supposed to come down and play in the Memorial Cup down here. And I told them, well, you come on down and watch. We'll see how your Knights do against us and stuff like that. But they never made it, so anyway, that's fine. But you have those little things. For the most part, when it comes to professional people, I try not to get in their space, let them do their thing. A lot of the pros, they're stretching or running or whatever, and I just leave them be. Like I say, it's mostly trainers on that end of it. Figure skaters, Stars on Ice, they're there for a week practicing, so you get to know them a little bit more.
Yeah. This might be a dumb question, but curling, I know the ice is different. How does that work? Do you use the same ice?
So it's not much different. It's thicker. They build their ice above ours, and they pebble it. So it's kind of neat. You'll see a guy, he has a backpack on filled with water, and it's a spray bottle, almost like you're spraying your trees or whatever, like
pesticides,
type of thing. And of course, there's companies that put out just for curlers and that, and you see them out back and they're waving their arm back and forth trying to get a rhythm, and then they'll walk backwards on it. On this sheet of ice going all the way down the other end, then they'll turn themselves around. So they're doing these little pebble drops. So the ice is very, very cold, and that's what the curl on. So in places like ours, and I'm sure any of these big rinks, because if you've ever been to a curling rink, they're like little ice boxes.
Yeah.
They're even colder than some of the regular hockey rinks type of thing. And so they don't have any problem losing their pebble as such. So in a rink like ours, that's a big trick because it's so warm in the building, especially once you get crowds in there, that it heats the surface and the pebble starts to go. So it's very, very tricky. So it's more, they're more intense on keeping the temperatures where they can basically keep them as cold as they can, and same with the cooling in the arena. And that more so than what I have to do for hockey, and even less for figure skating.
One of the hottest rinks I've ever played in, Scotiabank Center.
Is that right?
Oh man, I've never played down in Florida, but you sweat when there's, I played with I think 8,000 people were in there, and hottest I've ever been. After warm up, I was drenched. It's crap for the guys playing there now. Good for them, but it was
the
hot.
ice still hard?
Oh, the ice was great. Yeah, I got a goal. It was great. I tipped it in. It chipped it in. Yeah,
good stuff. Yeah, so for a hockey game, especially this time of year or in the spring when the temperatures outside are bad and it's humid and rains and happening and things like that. So we'll cheat. So the doors open. So the game's at 7. The doors open at 6. So we'll cheat a bit. And I say cheat. I get the engineers to cool the building down as much as possible, trying to get down 14, 15 degrees in the bowl, because as soon as those doors open and the crowds are coming in, and this year the crowds are good, which is great. So they're bringing in all that outside air, all that humidity if it's a rainy or a foggy day type of thing, and it's sitting in there. So now my temperature's going from 14 or 15, and it's up to 17 before the puck even drops. And that's just in the bowl temperature, right? So in artificial ice, all that heat's going down through the surface of the ice, and that's where it's drawing it down. So you want to try and keep your ice as hard as possible, but you also got to keep the air as cool as possible. Usually, if I can keep it around 17 and 18, once everybody's in and it settles, it seems to hold. When it starts to get up to 21 and stuff like that, the ice will get granular. It's like little pebbles, not so much snow anymore. It's more of a granular thing. And that's so we keep an eye on that. The engineers can't do too much more once they've settled it out and that temperature. They can hold that, but they wouldn't be able to bring it down any cooler. Once it gets colder out, like so when the World Juniors come in December and January, and the weather's cold outside, when the weather's cold outside, it'll make life a lot easier for both them and me and everything else. So it'll be good.
Random question, but do people that run the budget ever not fight with you, but they'll, Kelly, come on, like the air conditioning, we need it a little bit hotter. We can't be paying this bill. Is that ever a thing?
No, it probably is. I don't hear it.
Okay.
I've heard that before, and I just say, you know what, it's a rink.
Oh yeah, come on. Yeah.
I'm sure you brought your kid to a rink when it was a lot colder than here. You'll get used to the temperature.
Scotiabank can pay the bill. They're not worried about it.
We're here for the product, the entertainment purpose. We want these to be the best we can be, and I can tell a story back in the Citadel days. Halifax was playing Sherbrooke. I think they were the Canadians at that time, and I did the game that night. That was back when we had one Zamboni. And the next morning I got up and I was back at work the next day, and I always read the newspaper back then, and I was reading the article, and of course one of the players, he complained about the ice. They lost like 7-3 or something, our Citadels did, and he was complaining about the ice. The ice was this, the ice was that, the ice was this. So when I got to work, the chief engineer, and he's got a stack of his log sheets and everything of the compressors and air temperatures and stuff from previous games for the month or whatever to show that everything was basically the same. And he said the CEO, which was Ken Mounts at the time, wanted to see us. So up we went to the office, and Ken sat there and I sat on the other side of his desk, and Martin Butler was our chief engineer at that time. He had this stack of whatever, and he had the newspaper wide open, and Scott Ferguson, who was a junior executive at the time, he was sitting behind us. And Ken had asked, Kelly, you did the game last night? And I said, yeah. And he said, did you happen to read the paper? And I said, yeah. And he said, anything to say? And I said, Sherbrooke loved it. And he looked at me and he looked at Martin. He slammed his hand down. He said, that's good enough for me, right? And out we went. And I could do no wrong with my chief engineer at that time. Like, there was anything I needed, I was getting it. So it was pretty good. But I know when the ice is bad or it's going to be rough, but both teams play on it, so it's an equal playground.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always looked at it. I know when it's bad, and if they want to say it's bad, and I can agree with them, but the other team had to play on it as well, right? So we try to make it as best we can, and for the best. But and I was fairly young back then doing that game and stuff, but there it was, right? I play hockey. I know what it's like. When it's bad ice or good ice or whatever, right? And I know the other team's playing on it as well. So it all
You're just doing your best. That's all
doing
you can
your
ask
best.
for.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember the first time I was really mad at you. I was getting bag skated, and I was looking at you waiting for the horn. The practice was over at 6, and I think you let it go to like 6:05, and I almost threw up. I didn't, but I remember looking at you. You were there, like, I don't know what you were doing. You might have been drinking a coffee, and I kept looking at you. I go, blow the horn. I didn't know your name was Kelly. I was like, man, just blow the horn, and you didn't. So I want to know, like, some bag skates that you must have seen in your day. You must have seen some bad ones.
You know, so it's funny. I always introduce myself to any of the new coaches, be it pro or in this case the Halifax Mooseheads. I always introduce myself because in the big scheme of things, they're just a client there in our facility, just like everybody else. And most times the Mooseheads used to practice at our facility from 4 to 5:30, 3:30 to 5, those type of scenarios. They get out of school and come running over. Well, you probably did that, and the way they go. So at the start of the year, I introduced myself, and I'd always remind them that I have ice rentals right after you. So I've got 10 minutes to do the ice, right? So 10 minutes, I would know, looking at, maybe they had a bad weekend on the road or at home. And depending on the coach, you get used to how their mannerisms are and stuff. But I would say to them, listen, like, if you're going to give them a bag skate, do it in the first half hour. Right? And I'll come out, I'll resurface your ice, then you can practice your plays. Get your frustration. Don't leave it till the last of the practice, because I'll buzz you off. And I would do that.
Oh, yeah?
I would buzz them off. If I went out and they're doing stop starts or a bag skate or something, I would buzz them off. I've just missed that one.
Yeah. You missed that one big time.
Yeah. But I would do that. And that's only for the next client, because there's been times where the next client would come on and I know the ice is just not great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't charge them for it. I try not to do that too much, but the odd time that would happen. For the most part, the coaches were great. They understood where I was coming from. I just explained it to them that way, and they were good. I've never had an issue with any of the coaches over the years, and that they always seem to understand where I'm coming from. They don't practice there anymore. They got their beautiful facility over in the RBC Center there, and that. So I missed that end of it. So I don't get to know the kids so much anymore. They kind of come in on game day. It's almost like they've been on the road, come in on game day, do their game, and then they're gone again. They're back on the road. That's what it feels like. When they used to practice there every day, you get to know them. They used to walk down my end to go over to Scotia Square where they parked. And that, so you get to know the odd kid, and that they'd always stop and say hi, or some of them were just kept going and that. But for the most part, you miss that end of it. A lot of them, they'll see you, but they know you, but they don't, type of thing. That's what it's like now. Yeah.
Cool. I was always amazed, not always, the first time I pulled into that place on a bus, and I was like, how is this bus fitting through here underneath the stands? Has a bus ever hit like a stanchion?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. A lot of knocking on wood here.
Yeah, if you're next time you're at my place and you're down by where the Zambonis are, you can look up at the beams or the ductwork and see where either a truck, an 18-wheeler, or a bus has done that. I forget which team it was. I got Gatineau in my head, and the bus driver panicked, and he just kept going. And next thing you know, he smashed out one of his side windows. And stuff like, he just, instead of just waiting, take a deep breath, back it up, wheel it over, and that. I've seen trucks back into there. So today's a moving day for Michael Bublé, and they've got 18 trucks, I believe they said.
18 trucks for Michael Bublé?
They're bringing in their own stage.
One of them must be filled with the drinks, like the Bublé for everyone.
Anyway, I've seen guys back a truck in there, 18-wheeler, so it's on Duke Street, which is like a steep hill, and it's an angled and everything else. And they're walking on a sidewalk. And then I've seen other ones where it's like an hour, and it's painful. They're backing in, they're going for it, backing in, going. Oh, yeah. And if it's cold out, like if it's the cold of winter, and that's happening, it's nasty. And that's, so it's a good driver, or I'm not saying they're a bad driver, but
okay, I got you.
Not as much patience, I guess. I don't know. It is awkward. Yeah, I won't lie. It is an awkward spot to back in or drive in.
Yeah. It was a big deal. I remember like loading the bus because in junior A, you got to load the bus outside. You don't pull the, and I remember getting called up to the Mooseheads, and we got to load our bus inside the rink, and that was such a luxury. And I just remember thinking, this is good as it's going to get right here.
So we stopped doing that.
Oh, you don't do it anymore?
We don't do it anymore.
Oh, no. Why? So, what happened?
Well, a few things. It got to a point where, especially in the heat of the winter, where salt and everything's happening, and they come in the one end down by the Moosehead end, and they drive down, and they'll exit through the other end. Well, salt and ice don't mix, and it was always a pain to I was forever having to clean the floor, drive the Zambonis because I have to go through that way to get onto the ice, and that. And the other thing was some of them started cleaning their buses in there, and I can appreciate that. They got salt and everything on it, and they're, next thing you know, they're taking it with a hose, and they find a hose thing, and they're hooking it up, and they're spraying, and then they're just leaving, and there's just this it ended up being a work thing so much more than anything that we just didn't have time to deal with. And we're like one of two rinks, I think Quebec's the other one, where you can actually put a bus into the facility. So it's not like these kids aren't used to loading it up. And
it's a luxury.
So they stop on Duke Street. I let them in that door, and then they wheel their stuff in. They're used to it now. They grumbled the first few, mostly the trainers. That's who I deal with, so they're the ones asking me about it. And it goes from there. But
cool.
I mean, we still, like Michael Bublé again, I think he's got 8 or 9 buses coming in, and they'll park them inside for that show, and that he's got a big band and crew, and that, right? So buses still come in, but not for things like Thunderbirds or the Mooseheads anymore.
Has there ever been, like, obviously you don't do it for everyone that comes in, but has there ever been one artist, one hockey player that you're like, I got to get his autograph? Obviously you don't do it for everyone, but has there ever been that one guy?
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm a big Blackhawk fan, and it was the World Hockey Championships we were having, and so we had Team USA in there, we had Team Canada in there, and back then there was a young Jonathan Toews and a young Patrick Kane, and I had this Hockey News magazine. And like I said, I usually don't go around and bug these guys, but they were on the cover of this Hockey News magazine, and that future Blackhawks, whatever. And this is before they won any cups and stuff. So I had to go down and I got their autographs. I have it framed home on my wall and that. So that was probably the biggest one. Well, the biggest one that I actually went after. The other one I didn't really go after it. It was back when the Citadels were there, and Gordie Howe was there for some reason, doing some promotion with some minor hockey association, but also affiliated with the Halifax Mooseheads at the time. And he was in one of the dressing rooms all by himself. And anyway, he come off the ice, and he was going to the dressing room, and he forgot the key. And I just happened to be walking by, and I said, hi. He says, do you have a key for this? And I said, yes, I do. And I opened the door up, and next thing you know, he starts talking to me. So I follow him in, and he's going on about a game last night and stuff. And anyway, I reached into my pocket, and I had a Halifax Citadel puck. Don't know why. I just happened to have one. And anyway, he signed that for me. So I have a Halifax Citadel puck with Gordie Howe's autograph on it. Those are the only ones that I kind of like went out of my way to ask for, type of thing, right? Yeah. World Juniors, I have a autograph hockey stick that was given to me. That's about it autograph-wise, I think. I usually, NHL exhibition games or any big events, I usually get a game puck. So I'll sneak over to the timekeeper's box. I'll have the game pucks, and usually the home team. So if it's, say, Montreal, Ottawa having an exhibition game there, whoever the home team was, they'll supply the pucks. So I usually grab a puck there, and I'll put the white tape on it, just like the pros, and I write the date of the game and stuff, and I just put them in my little puck holders, and they're in my walls as well. I got quite a few actually.
Oh yeah.
Over the years, we've had neutral site games that actually counted in the standings, and that the Rangers and the Devils, and I think it was the Rangers and the Capitals, Tampa, and I'm trying to think, maybe it was Ottawa. And
Pittsburgh, Ottawa was here.
Yeah, that might have been an exhibition game.
Yeah,
these were neutral site games.
Oh, neutral. I got you.
They actually count. I don't know why the deal was that year or a couple of years where they were trying to get the game more out there to other places, and we lucked out on three of those games. So it was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
With every building, or even like a house, like I have funny things in this house that don't work properly. You got to give it a little elbow. You got to make it, work the way you got to make it work. Nothing's perfect in this world. I was wondering if the Scotiabank Center had anything like that, where you know, the second Zamboni door doesn't open unless you kick it a little bit to the left. I don't just anything
Yeah,
funny like that.
No, on my end, it's good. It's an older building, so we've got a lot of new things. You know, the skyboxes, the
Seats.
the seats. You know, so there's all those, and you're trying to put it in to a building that's old and designed, and well, we opened up in 1978. So, you know, there's pains in there that you wouldn't see, but we know. On my end, you know, like they take the gates out, and sometimes they'll take the boards out depending on the show, and then they have to put it back in. And my gates, the Zamboni gates, might be a little tight, so we have to tweak that a bit. Things like the spectator netting that goes up all the time every time there's a show, putting that back down. So usually when I come in, so I'll come in Saturday morning and Mooseheads are playing Randa, and there's game day practices, and I'll get the ice cleaned up before the first practice. But one of the things I'll do is I'll examine the glass posts, the glass, the netting, just to make sure that the playground is safe enough for everybody to come out. And if not, I'm calling an event tech and getting them to tweak it or whatever before the practice starts while I'm trying to get the ice cleaned, type of thing. For the most part, that's the biggest thing on my end of it. You know, cleaning the floor now, like I say, where the Zambonis go, because all those tractor trailers and buses will be at my end. This time of year is not so bad. The salt's not out yet and stuff, so it'll be just more dirt than anything. So I'll give that a quick hose down or get the cleaners to scrub it and that. But the building itself, you know, we just had dressing rooms redone a few years back, just before the pandemic. You know, we keep it in pretty good shape. I think we try to keep it to where it needs to be for the crowds and everything else, so that they're comfortable and enjoying whatever they're there to watch.
Yeah. You know, you guys do a great job. Every time I'm in there, it's clean.
Nice.
It's really, really nice. Really well kept.
Good.
When I was there last week with Drummondville, and you walked the nets around before you pegged them in. Why?
So again, it's a warm building. So most rinks are cold. And our nets are in the back there where the Zambonis are, so it's a little ways away. And because it's metal, the metal frame, it'll melt in the ice. So if you threw a coin out on the ice out of your pocket, it would start to melt down in. Well, it's the same with the nets. So we walk them, 3 laps just to cool enough the bottom so that shape of the frame of the net doesn't melt down into the ice.
So what are you trying to do? Attract ice or snow to the bottom of the net?
Just cooling.
Just cool it. That's all you're trying to do is cool it down.
We're doing. So most rinks, like, you know, if I said the Spryfield rink or, you know, name your local ice box. Centennial, they're cold, right? So their nets are just off the side. They're always cold. They're never going to be warm.
I see what you're saying.
Back here, it's warm. The temperatures are warm. Like, I can walk around in a short sleeve shirt, no problem, comfortable, and then throw a warm net onto the ice. That's the reason we walk our nets.
Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
I see you brought some stuff with you, and you have an artistic side to you where you know how to. What are these? Are these painted, hand drawn, and then filled in with?
So back in the day, the Scotiabank Center or Scotiabank Metro Center.
Try to show whenever you're showing, just kind of maybe just
the Trade Center Limited ran the Halifax Citadels off ice stuff. I'm trying to think of my very first one here. I got them all.
Yeah, maybe put it down.
Must be episode 1. So Scott Ferguson again. He knew I was artistic, and he had asked me if I'd be interested in painting a cover for the Citadels. They did one once a month, and I said, sure, let me try one. So this was episode 1 or issue 1 that I did, and there was 5 of them total. Just, you know, wow. Promoting the game, promoting the team, and each month they would come to me and say, you know, I'm looking for something where the fans are involved or whatever type of thing. And I don't know if you remember BJ the Bird there.
I don't remember, no.
Radio. He was kind of like the mascot for anything and everything, and that. And
who's this signing the autograph?
Just name a player, you know, after the game.
Okay,
you know what it's like, and the fans will come down and they're looking for autographs. So it's nobody in particular. It's just events that are happening at the building. They wanted to do a birthplace of hockey in Windsor, Nova Scotia. So I did this one up. because they're bragging that they invented hockey, and that's where it started.
Yeah.
And this was down in their Sports Hall of Fame, the original painting down in Windsor. For the longest time, I haven't been there for a long time, so I don't even know if it's still up in that. But that was one that I did for them on that one.
Who was supplying the trip to Mexico?
Again, I guess it's our people promoting the team.
Okay.
So we had all promotion stuff. So I'm going to assume that was through us.
That's a big trip.
That is a good trip. Again, community-oriented thing.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
How long would it take you on average to do one of these?
Well, it all depends. So that one, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of things happening, probably a little bit longer than others. And we're going back a few years. I don't know. Like I said, it was before each month, so I would start as soon as I got one done. I would start doing. They would give me whatever they're looking for the next month, and then I would start out, kind of sketch something out, and that. And the last one I did was kind of a tribute to the AHL and all our teams. And that's so we started off with the Nova Scotia Voyagers, and then the Nova Scotia Oilers, and then of course the Citadels, and that, and in our building, and that. So it was fun to do, and it was just something I was actually doing autographs because people would know about it and get me to sign one every now and then.
That's awesome.
And that, and the funny part of it all was the AHL did a story on me doing this. Zamboni drivers doing the program covers, and they wrote a story on me, which was great, and I appreciated it very much. Talk about my wife, and this before I had kids, and I had a pet cockatiel at the time, and talked about that and stuff, and this was going to be displayed in every AHL magazine or program throughout the league. And the funny part about it, or the sad part about it, however you look at it, was the Halifax Citadels didn't make the playoffs. So nobody here locally got to read this, but people in Rochester or Syracuse or whatever, they could read about it. But anyway, it was fun. I enjoyed that. The Citadels moved away after that year. Maybe it's because of my paintings. I don't know. But anyway,
no,
they were no longer there. I think they moved to Cornwall at that time. And
that's great.
Yeah,
it's a piece of history from Halifax right there, and you're a part of it. That's awesome. More ways than one, too. Painting and making sure that the ice is great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And it was funny. So I got a call one day from a guy, and he now owns the Halifax Wanderers Soccer Club, and he calls me up, and he was working with Easter Seals at that time, and he says, "Yeah, I'm looking for the Zamboni driver." He says, "Do you know if he's paints or artistic?" And I said, "Oh, I am the Zamboni driver." And yeah, I am. And I wasn't bragging or anything. I went to NASCAR. I'm artistic. What can I say? I am. And he said, so Easter Seals did a thing out in BC, and they had orca whales. And the Zamboni driver did up an orca whale in a uniform, Vancouver Canuck uniform, and it looked really cool. I wonder if you can do something for Easter Seals for us, and that, right? He says, we got a lot of corporate sponsors that are paying for this. It was Lobsters in the City at the time. And he said Trade Center Limited's going to be one of them, and wondering if you'd be interested in doing that. And I said, sure. I've never done that before. That's something different, and that. So anyway, this was back in, I'm going to say 2005. This came about. So we had already had the World Juniors in 2003. We had the Women's Worlds in 2004. So I did up a lobster with Team Canada. And that's the one I did for Trade Center Limited. And it used to stand outside of the Trade Center Limited there on Argyle Street. And on one side, I had the year on his sleeve, so his number is like 04.
Yeah.
And I would have the corporate logo. You can't see it so much in this photo, but the tournament logo. And then if you look at his claw, it's the medal that they won. So the World Juniors, Team Canada won the silver medal, and the women's won the gold medal, and that. And then after these are on display for a long time, they used to auction them off. And I remember we wanted it. Trade Center wanted it. They wanted to put it up in our sports bar, but they got outbid, and that. And Fred McGilvery at the time was our CEO. He wasn't too happy about not getting this, but so now it's down on Barrington Street, right next to the Freak Lunchbox. There's an office building right next to it, and it still stands there today inside that thing. And I was thinking we should get it for the upcoming World Juniors. And
Yeah.
see if they'll lend it to us. But I have no idea who actually bought it.
That's a great idea. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, just something to put in there. So yeah, so there it is. Zamboni driver paints lobsters and stuff like that.
Lobsters.
Global TV and whatever,
It's a way to put your stamp on the city.
There you
that's
go.
really cool.
They've been around, right? And that they did Dolphins one year, they did Guardians of the Sea another year. I've done a few over the years, so it's been fun. And then Easter Seal stopped doing that promotion and that, but it was fun at the time.
And I want to talk about the ring that the Mooseheads gave you as well. When did they present you with that ring?
So the Mooseheads won the Memorial Cup. 2013. My Blackhawks won the cup that year too. It was a good year for me.
It's a good year for Kelly. That's a good year.
Especially a hockey guy and everything, right? So it was when they obviously gave out rings, and Travis Kennedy and Brian Urquhart came down, and it was during a Moosehead game. And the first period was going on, and they had asked to see us. Me and Wade Seegers was the other Zamboni driver at the time, and they presented us with a ring. And I remember at the time they were giving out a pewter ring, a replica, smaller than this, and they were giving that to the season ticket holders. And I was hoping, maybe I get one of those, right? I thought those were cool. Anyway, they presented me with that, and it was just like, are you serious? Like, it's it's got my name in it, and it's got all the diamonds and everything, and that. And anyway, it was like, wow, like, because not too many people that weren't officially with the team got these. I'm one of the few that did, and very, very thankful and fortunate that I got that. And it's, again, my daughters can fight over it in the future.
It's interesting how you say it. It's like, I'm not like affiliated with the team, but when I think of you, I do. Like, I just think, no, like he's with the Mooseheads. I just, it's how I think, at least.
I understand that. And I deal closely with them. As such, so whatever they need, you try and help them out the best you can, type of thing, and especially when they were there all the time, so it was a daily thing. Chris McDonald was their trainer for years. I got to know Macker probably better than some of our staff that we have there, because you dealt with him so often, and that. But you become, and you get pumped up for a game. Like, I get excited for a game. Like, Randa's in here on Saturday. We lost to them in the Memorial Cup, so you get, you want that revenge, no matter if it's, that's years ago, but you still want to beat them, type of thing, and that. So I get excited for a game and get my crew all pumped up for it, and that. I, like, I still play hockey. I ran a gentleman's hockey league for 36 years. It's in my blood, right? I just I hang out at a rink. Basically, my daughters were figure skaters. I'm always cold.
I'm always cold. That's good stuff. That's great stuff, Kelly. Well, we were talking to Wendell Young the other day up in Chicago, the general manager for the Wolves, and I said he had this, mentality like a child. He gets to go to the rink every day, had a huge smile on his face, and he's been there for, a long time, and he still wakes up every day and loves it. And I'm getting the same energy from you. You seem kind of just like a kid who's happy to wake up and go do what you do.
You know what? And it's funny, and it doesn't matter if it's minor hockey or kids, or if it's gentleman's hockey or just rec hockey, right? I've been there, and I'm still there playing it myself.
Oh, you still go out and play on?
I do. I played last night at the RBC Center, and I'm not worse for wear today, so that's not too bad.
Are you defenseman or forward?
I used to play defense, but I broke both ankles playing hockey, so I tend to play forward now. I'm at an age now where I give somebody a rest, or I trash talk.
So I wouldn't have taken that from you.
I leave it at that. And when I trash talk, I'm not the cursor type of thing, but I like to punt around that way. So
I got to ask you one more question. I'm sorry,
sure.
But you continue with this story. But do you ever judge the other people's ice surfaces when you go? Do you look and go, that could be a bit better? Do you ever?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I do. And I, because you're always looking to see how people do their ice, right? Were they taught properly how to run the machine? Like, why is he doing that, or she, type of thing. And so, I do judge in my own head, and that, it's a product that you're selling. You want your product to be the best that it can be, and you have a machine that should be able to do that, right? When I see a team out there, and this time of year is rough because all minor hockey teams, they're doing tryouts for their competitive teams. So they're doing stop starts or they're doing bag skates or whatever, right? Trying to get the kids in shape. Well, the kids are in shape. They really are, right? They play all year round now and that, right? So a lot of times if I see, even if it's minor hockey and the kids are a little bit older and they're doing stop starts, I'll go right out to the bench and I'll say, whoa, change it up a bit. You don't have to do it like 10 times so that there's like a groove now there, a half inch of ice torn out, right? And that, and you can't do that at every rink, and I understand that, but like, come on, you really don't need to do that. Change it up a little bit. Do a few of those, whatever.
Couple
right?
push-ups.
If you're gonna make them do laps, move your net out.
Yeah.
And I would tell the Moosehead coaches that, move your net out 10 feet so that they're not going in the same spot, right? And stuff, just the little things, right? But yeah, I do that. I'll go home after a Moosehead. So Saturday night there's a Moosehead game. I'll go home. Oh, there's a late game on tonight. And I'm looking at the lines, I'm looking at the boards, I'm looking at the glass, I'm looking at all that stuff before I'm even watching the game, type of thing, just because it's what I do. So when the curved glass came in to the players' benches, I was curious about it. My wife, for my 50th birthday, got me tickets to go to Chicago to watch a couple Blackhawk games, which was awesome. And I noticed they had the curved glass, so I went early enough, and I'm marching down, and I'm staring at this thing because we haven't had it yet, and I'm sure we're going to get it.
Everyone's looking at the players. Kelly's looking at the
glass, right? I'm down there, right? And it was funny. It was funny in Chicago. So they have their boards or the Zamboni entrance, same place as us. So, of course, it's intermission time. Most people are going to concessions, grab a pop or two or something, and that I'm watching the ice. So anyway, I'm watching him, and he comes right out, and he drives all the way down to the far blue line. And then he puts his conditioner down, he starts going around, and I'm like, and then the second one comes out, and he follows him. I'm like, I'm saying to my wife, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? Why are they going way up there? Like, they should be just going out and putting their conditioner down, going right up the middle, and the way they go, right? Like,
yeah.
If you watch me and what I do there, and it's on and off, right? And we went to 2 games, and every intermission, that's what they did. And I said, I got to go down there. I got to show them what to do.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Teach them the right way or something. It just, there's some reason they do it, and I don't know why, but it always cracked me up that they did it that way. And I remember, so the CHL, they hired Wayne, I'm going to butcher his last name, Plazenga. Yeah, I think I butchered his name.
You tried.
Anyway, he's a great guy, and he was down for us to observe and everything. Anyway, he called me up before they had it in St. John, and that's no disrespect for the guys in St. John. I've never seen them do their ice, so I have no idea. But anyway, I'm assuming their gates are in the same place as us. At their arena, Harbor Station, you might remember. Anyway, he asked me to get my video guys to videotape us doing the ice during the game, so I got a hold of our video guy, and he did a video and sent it to me, and I sent it to Wayne, and he wanted their guys to do the ice that way because it saved time, and it just seemed like efficient. I don't know if it worked. I don't know how that went, but I said that's all I need is somebody from Halifax showing somebody from St. John how to do their ice, right? I'm thinking that's not going to go over well, but anyway, you try and help out the best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so funny. I have buddies who are refs, and they're watching games on TV. They don't watch the game; they watch the refs.
Yeah.
So it's funny from your position too. It's like I don't really watch. I'm really focused on the glass, the ice. It's funny how that works.
Yeah. No. Well, I do that first. I get into the game as well, but that's usually the first thing I'm looking at. And it's funny this year. I'm sure you've watched a couple of games. They got the new electronic board things. It's just TV, and I'm not sold on it yet. I find it distracting when they change it when the play is on. I don't mind it when there's a stoppage and they change it, but when the play is on, all of a sudden there's something else kind of flashing there. I haven't gotten used to that yet, but that's just TV only.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a fan of it either.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the mentality of waking up every day and just being happy to do what you do. What's the trick to your happiness of waking up every day and doing what you do and loving it and being fortunate to be in the position that you're in?
Well, you know what? Like I said, I love the sport. I've been doing it all my life. It's been going on 50 years now. I've been working in a rink, and that, the people, and that it's just and it's the, like I said, they're paying or to either watch or play, be it a gentleman's league, and like I said, I understand that. I run a gentleman's league. I played in it. I still play. I know the enjoyment of that and just forgetting the day-to-day whatevers and that, right? So you have that enjoyment. As weird as it sounds, the smell of an arena, there's always that, be it the rubber mats, be it the dressing rooms or whatever. It's probably not a perfumey smell by any means, but it's all that. On a game day at our place, they're cooking popcorn early in the day, and it's going through at the building, and it's like, next thing you know, I need to go up and get some popcorn. It's just everything about it, right? It's the game, and that I don't know why I like it so much. I do. I don't know how many other ice techs around are into it. I am, and it helps. I don't say you have to play hockey or skate to become an ice tech, but it helps because you get a feel of it. One of the things that I do every year when I make ice, I'm the first one on it. So I build it up, and I know I'm the one that rents the ice, so I know my first rental, and usually on that day, I'll bring my skates in, put my skates on. I usually take a photo of myself or a video of my skates skating over the ice. I'm the first one on the ice every year. It's just one of those things I've been doing for a long time. Not every year since I've been there, but for a long time. Just to get a feel of it, see if it's wavy at all, if I get it level enough, just coast around. Just one of those little perks that I do there.
That's great.
And that, like I say, I examine the playground to make sure everything is safe for whoever it may be, and I think all rinks should do that. I remember talking to the referees for Nova Scotia and asking them that they should do up a report if a rink is not safe for kids or adults or anybody, and that could be a piece of the boards chipped away or puck boards wrong or something. If they deem something doesn't seem right, they should report that so that at least we can inform most people, especially like rec hockey. They just want to play. They'll play on anything, right? They just want to get out there and play. But it should be safe, right? And the arena itself should be one of the things we design gear and stuff like that for the kids or adults to protect themselves. So you don't need any other whatever, right? So that never really happened, but I still think that should be a thing. Minor hockey referees, they're there in all these rinks. They would know if there's something a little off. Maybe the goal crease is too thin, and that, right? That's not safe. You know, if a guy hits that and hits the concrete, and next thing you know, he's sliding into the boards or whatever. There's all kinds of things, right? And usually those mistakes are because somebody's not trained right on the machines or whatever it may be, right? So safety should go a long way that way and stuff. I would like to see that implemented. I know in the NHL they do stuff like that, the referees, and I think a player from each team has to write a report on conditions of the ice.
No way, really?
Yeah, they do all that stuff.
Wow.
And I think that's great. Now, they're getting paid millions to play and stuff like that. So if there's issues, be it with the ice or with the facility, the boards, the glass, whatever, then they need to know and fix it type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And that should be, to me, in all rinks.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I want one more thing before you go. The respect factor between the players and the Zamboni driver of one shutting the door and shoveling. Where's the line crossed? Because in the NHL, I see the guys going on the ice as the Zambonis there stretching, and I go, okay, well, it's the NHL. Maybe it's a bit different. These guys got off a plane, they want to stretch a bit. I don't know. What's your thought process on the respect factor?
So I don't like anybody on the ice.
Okay.
For that. I never had a problem with AHL, even the NHL exhibition games. I've never had that as an issue. First time I had it was probably Team Finland during the World Hockey Championships, and I'm out doing the ice for it. They just had a practice that day, and they all started coming out on the ice and just in front of the players' benches and stretching. By this time, I think I've had maybe 2 laps to go, and I'm looking over at them and I'm giving them my kind of a scowl type of thing, right? It's usually pucks that I don't want to see. So I just let it go. They're just stretching and that. And it was just that one time. The only time I had it before was, again, the Citadels. 2 players went out, and again, I was near the end of doing the ice, and again, it was a game day practice. And at game day practice said that we only had one machine, and they were passing a puck, and next thing you know, the puck, of course, goes into the auger, and it's a 50-50. It'll either go up in the auger and into the box, or it'll get jammed in there. Sure enough, on this particular day, it got jammed in there. So off I go, and that, luckily for me, it was close to the bottom. Got it out. So then I went and saw the trainer, and I said, that's a no-no. We got to teach them a lesson, right? So I said, I'm going to get them the cost of an auger. So AHL hockey players don't make a lot of money, right, at that time. And so I got the cost of a new auger, and that I called up Zamboni, and they gave me a quote, and I did up a bill, and I said, give this to these two guys and show them what it costs for a new auger thing, right? So it was kind of a bit of a prank. The other one I had was it was a game day, and this one was even worse. The guys moved the nets for me, my crew, and there was a pile of snow at one of the posts. And anyway, I went out and did the ice, and I did maybe 2 laps. All of a sudden, my augers caught up. So there was something buried in the snow. I'm assuming it was a puck. So the Utica Devils were coming on next. And Utica Devils were coached by Tommy McPhee. Now, I don't know if you know Tommy McPhee. He's kind of a Don Cherry kind of a guy, but he had this big, raspy voice, like hardcore whatever. And it's old school hockey back then. Anyway, because it was fights all the time and everything else. And anyway, I had to go. I only had one machine. And he started on me. He's like ripping me hard. Wait till they come to Utica. We're going to give them. They're not even going to be able to skate. It's going to be so crappy. And he was calling me everything in the book. And I didn't even really care. I just said, you know what? I got something stuck in my auger. I got a game tonight, right? You might not even be playing. So anyway, that particular one, we had to take the auger right out, which took me all day, me and another guy, all day. And it was a blade of a hockey stick had broken in it. Shoved up inside the auger, so it wasn't as easy to get out, but it was painful. But I always remember that this guy, he's ripping me hard, and I'm sure after the fact he's probably thinking, that poor guy.
yeah
a lot of work to do, right? But anyway, that was and that wasn't anybody's fault except for now I get them to kick the snow. Anytime there's snow near the net, just give it a quick kick just in case there's something in it, right? That might go up in the auger, because it's a 50-50. It'll either go up or it'll get jammed.
In the middle of your story, you said I had to call Zamboni. Zamboni's an actual company?
Yeah.
It's not the name of the machine.
It's the name of the machine.
But it's also the name of the company.
It's the name of the company. So Frank Zamboni is the guy that invented the Zamboni.
No way.
So when you see an Olympia or another ice resurfacer, because they're all ice resurfacers, but it's like almost like Kleenex. Kleenex, they're not Kleenex, they're tissues. Kleenex is a brand name. Zamboni is a brand name. But everybody calls whatever ice resurfacer is in the building the Zamboni.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter what. But, Frank Zamboni invented the Zamboni, and I call it the Cadillac of ice resurfacers, but that's my preference. Olympia is perfectly fine. I've driven those. Europe's got a bunch of different ones as well, but everybody refers to them as a Zamboni
It's a
Zamboni, but technically it's not. So during the Vancouver Olympics, Olympia got the bid for it, and they had, and this is no disrespect to Olympia, but they had some problems with the speed skating track, and the announcers kept saying the Zamboni's breaking down, the Zambonis are breaking down, or something's wrong with the Zamboni, and finally somebody from Zamboni, the company, said, got to stop calling it Zambonis. They're Olympias. They're not ours, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, they're ice resurfacers.
That's probably an issue,
Yeah, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Especially Olympics, where it's a worldwide, global thing, right? And stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kelly, man, thank you very much for joining the show. I appreciate it. An hour flies by when you're coming on the show. You told some great stories. I appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much. Awesome. It was fun.
Thanks. I'm going to be at the rink on Saturday. We're miking up Crothers from... who are they playing? Rouen, yeah. So I'll see you there.
Nice. Cool.
And I'll know what you're doing now. When you're walking the nets all day. This is what he's doing.
Idea,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, right on.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your week. I appreciate you coming on. And everyone listening, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your week. And that's it. We're out. Nice. Peace.
Nice.